Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the news cycle on Global TV. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. President Bola Tinubu has commended the recent spate of kidnappings and bandit attacks, describing the development as disturbing, ugly and sinister. He said this when he received a delegation of Jamiatu Ansaruddin, a highly respected Islamic movement, at the State House on Tuesday in Abuja. The president said that while security agencies are acting with dispatch to immediately address the current challenge, all required resources, policies, and plans would be rolled out for the massive education of Nigerian youths. The president also emphasized the need to promote updated knowledge through existing Islamic learning institutions for youths in northern Nigeria to speed up development in the region, Nigeria and Africa, urging Nigerians to embark on special prayers on proper education for the youth, stating that kidnapping and banditry are not the way of God and there can be no development without peace. President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday met with service chiefs and other heads of security agencies at the State House, Abuja, over rising insecurity. The development follows recent security lapses in various regions of the country, particularly in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, where kidnappers have perpetrated severe acts of brutality in the past few days. At the meeting where the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoko, and the heads of some security outfits. While there has been no official briefing on the meeting yet, it is presumed that President Tinubu and the security chiefs will examine the recent security situation in different parts of the country and devise strategies to curb the increasing impunity of criminals, including kidnappers and bandits. In light of the ongoing investigation into the alleged misappropriation of 585 million naira by the suspected Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Betta Edu, the presidency has called for restraint and patience from Nigerians, warning against immediate trial. The Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, who said this while responding to fresh revelations on the matter, disclosed that President Bola Tinubu has approved the release of 3 billion naira to verify the National Social Register under the former administration of Muhammadu Buhari. The Social Register was created for cash transfers and other social investment programs under Buhari. Meanwhile, the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, in a bid to strengthen collaboration between government agencies for better service delivery, received the Minister Youth Development for possible partnership to harness the skills and abilities in the younger generation for national growth. Fauzi Lukman has details.
In order to identify and discuss issues on nation building and concerns on youth with disabilities, the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities received the Minister for Youth Development to partner for the initiative in reviving the youth centers for persons living with disabilities in the Federation. In attendance also is the Vice-Chancellor, Nasarawa State University, KEFI, Professor Suleiman Bala Mohammed, who stated the ease of admission processes, free education and accommodations for persons with disabilities in accordance with the government policies.
Every person with disability who is admitted into Nasarawa State University will not pay school fees. Every person admitted will be given automatic accommodation. We have also ensured that all our physical structures, the buildings that we construct in the university, are also friendly to persons with disabilities.
The Executive Secretary, Dr. James Lalu, in his remarks, said the goal is to create a platform to enhance full implementation of policies and programs for equal rights, while requesting for the establishment of bilateral committee in the ministry.
Our goal remains that to create a platform that will enhance the full implementation of policies, support processes, and programs for the recognition and protection of the rights and dignity, accessibility, and equal participation of persons with disabilities in all sectors in Nigeria. Additionally, we understand that the ministry is planning a lot of empowerment and support programs for the youth in Nigeria. We want to passionately request for a 10% allocation of all the programs and projects you will be planning in your ministry for the disability community. I want to request for the establishment of a bilateral committee in the Ministry for Youth and the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, dedicated officers from your ministry and dedicated officers from our commission.
Speaking further on policies and inclusion, the Minister of Youth Development, Dr. Jamila Biu Ibrahim, reiterated on the significance of implementation of decision-making processes in programs and initiatives for youth with disabilities.
The 10% disabilities quota that was requested to be included in all of the ministry's activities, and I've assured the Commission's Executive Secretary that the 10% inclusion request will be granted. We have proposed some programs for persons living with disabilities across the 6 geopolitical zones, which include mentorship and an agency of the Ministry of Youth, which is a Center for Leadership Training. We also hope that we are able to bring more young people to learn more about the leadership that is required to actually address challenges of persons living with disabilities.
People living with disabilities are a significant part of the citizens of Nigeria. Therefore, the disability community have innovatively contributed in one way or the other positively in building the new Nigeria. Fauziya Lukman, Global TV News.
Governor Diko Rada of Katsina State has said youth across Nigeria should be developed through various forms of employment to drive the country's economy to prosperity. The governor stated this when he paid a courtesy visit to the Minister of Youth Development, Dr. Jamila Biu Ibrahim, in her office in Abuja. Rada pointed out that the larger population of the country was dominated by the youth and that every administration in the country needed to focus on them. He revealed that it was part of the reason now barely 24 hours after his inauguration for a second term in office, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, on Tuesday dissolved his cabinet. Uzodinma, who was overwhelmingly elected for a second tenure in November last year, sacked all commissioners and other political appointees with immediate effect. He is expected to constitute a new cabinet by submitting a new list of commissioner nominees to the State House of Assembly for screening and confirmation. Appointees affected by the dissolution included the secretary to the state government, commissioners, special advisors, senior special assistants, the chief of staff, and the chief press secretary. Moving on, the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, on Wednesday said preliminary investigations by security agencies revealed that the explosion that rocked the Bodija area of Ibadan, the state capital, on Tuesday, was caused by explosive devices stored by illegal miners. No fewer than 10 persons were feared dead and 15 others hospitalized following the explosion that also affected a section of the governor's office secretariat, Oyo State House of Assembly, the residence of the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Chief Bola Ige. Some buildings at Ologun-Neru, Apete, New Garage, Bashonru, Akobo, Songo, and Eleyele. Makinde, who visited the scene of the explosion Tuesday night, said though further investigations were still ongoing, anyone found culpable would be brought to book. The Commissioner of Police, Ekiti State Command, Dare Ogundare, has ordered a thorough investigation into the attack by hoodlums on Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital at Ekiti and the forcible removal of the corpse of a dead patient. The police public relations officer, Sunday Abutu, said that the CP met with the parties involved in the matter on Tuesday morning, adding that the police had started investigating some persons fingered in the attack on the hospital. The hoodlums, suspected to be members of a drivers' union, angered by the death of the patient, who was the father to one of them, had allegedly descended on doctors and other hospital workers, vandalized the accident and emergency unit, and forcibly took away the corpse. Some ex-suit workers, including members of the Association of Resident Doctors, immediately embarked on strike, calling for their security and the arrest and prosecution of the culprits. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has shunned an invitation by the Code of Conduct Bureau over an ongoing investigation bordering on alleged breach of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers. The minister, who was scheduled to meet in Abuja on Tuesday with interrogators at 11 a.m., did not show up at the Bureau between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., confirming the development in a telephone interview. The spokesperson for the CCB, Veronica Akato, said the minister's interrogation would be rescheduled for a later date following his memo to the Bureau citing national assignment. The CCB had invited the embattled minister over the involvement of his company in a 438 million naira contract with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Former Minister of Women's Affairs, Pauline Tallen, has apologized to the judiciary for describing the verdict of a court as kangaroo judgment. According to Tallen, her remarks were misconstrued and quoted out of context. In the apology letter, the former minister said the comment was not a call for civil disobedience against judges and the NBA, stating that the statement was by and large misconstrued and quoted out of context, as it was not in any way or by any stretch of the imagination intended to malign or undermine the integrity of the nation's judiciary. Neither was it a call for civil disobedience against the bar and the bench. Now, some unknown gunmen suspected to be bandits attacked and killed 2 immigration officers at the Kangiwa border on the Arewa local government area of Kebbi State. In a statement by the Kebbi State Command Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Immigration Service, DSI Abdullahi Isa, said the suspected bandits in a group launched an attack on the officers at the entry point in Gari Garba, 12 kilometers away from Kangiwa town, which resulted in the deaths of the 2 officers on duty at the border. He further stated that the unprovoked attack and killing of the officers would not distract them from their official duties of effectively manning the borders to ward off criminal elements. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has interrogated the Accountant General of the Federation, Oluwatoyin Madein, over an alleged link of 585.2 million naira fraud involving the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Betta Edu. The AGF was quizzed by EFCC interrogators at the Anti-Graft Agency's headquarters in Jabi, Abuja. Madein was grilled for over 6 hours and was released with no condition in the evening. She was queried over the payment of 585.2 million naira of government funds from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs into the private bank account of a government official. The AGF, in a statement, countered the claim by the suspended minister, while noting that allocations were released to self-accounting MDAs in line with the budget, and such MDAs were responsible for the implementation of their projects and payment for such projects. Moving on, the Abia State government says it has recorded 3 suspected cases of measles in Arochukwu and Umuneochi local government areas of the state. The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Ngozi Okoronkwo, disclosed while briefing newsmen in Umuahia on the outcome of the State Executive Council meeting. She said that frantic efforts were being made to contain the outbreak and prevent further spread of the disease. The Commissioner attributed the infection to dry weather conditions being experienced in the state and advised that more vulnerable children be vaccinated against such diseases. Kanu called on residents of the state to be vigilant and maintain a healthy lifestyle to avoid being infected with the disease. He said that 5,000 residents were targeted and that 200 persons would benefit from free surgeries during the program. You're watching the news cycle live from the nation's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the news cycle returns, subscribers complain of bad phone lines. The news continues shortly with details of this and more stories right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the news cycle. Now, some telecommunication subscribers expressed displeasure on Wednesday over the barring of the alliance by telcos, despite having linked their national identification number, NIN, with their SIM cards. Telecommunications telcos operators in Nigeria, including MTN, Airtel, and Globalcom, among others, had been directed by the regulatory body, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, to implement full network barring on all phone lines for which subscribers had not submitted their NINs and those without verified NINs by February 28, 2024. The NCC said further that NINs that had been submitted but not verified were to be barred on or before March 29, 2024. The same as in cases where 5 or more lines are linked to an unverified NIN. The subscribers The NCC further said that NINs that had been submitted but not verified were to be barred on or before March 29, 2024. The same as in cases where 5 or more lines are linked to an unverified NIN. The subscribers were dissatisfied that their lines had been barred from making calls even before the February 28 deadline. Some of them insisted that they had already linked their NINs to their SIM cards as directed by NCC, so they were surprised by their lines still barred. On the foreign scene, Iran says it has hit a militant group in western Pakistan in a missile attack. Its third airstrike in another country this week after early attacks on targets in Iraq and Syria. Iranian state TV said the operation hit 2 sites in Balochistan linked to the militant group Jaish al-Adil, while Pakistani officials said 2 children were killed and 3 others injured. The latest airstrike come at a time of growing tension across the Middle East, with more than 100 days of war between Israel and Palestinian group Hamas in Gaza and recent US-UK airstrikes in Yemen, from where Iran-backed Houthi militants have been attacking commercial shipping in the Red Sea. China on Wednesday urged Pakistan and Iran to show restraint and avoid actions that will lead to an escalation of tension. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning added that Beijing saw the countries as close neighbors. Some children with cancer are receiving a new type of drug treatment. It's far less toxic than chemotherapy. Archer 11 is one of the first to try it at London's Great Ormond Street Hospital for his blood cancer. His family called the therapy a little bit of sunshine since it worked without making Arthur feel much sicker. For Arthur, belantamab or Blina was his only real option after his chemo had failed to clear all of his cancer and had left him very weak. Blina is already licensed to treat adults with cancer, and experts hope to show it can safely help children too. Some 20 centres around the UK are using it off-label for children with B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, BALL. The drug is an immunotherapy that seeks out cancer cells so the body's own immune system can recognize and destroy them. In another development, a deal to allow delivery of medicines to hostages in Gaza and aid into the territory has been agreed following mediation by Doha and Paris. Qatar and Israel announced on Tuesday. In a statement to the official Qatar news agency, Doha announced the deal between Israel and Hamas, where medicine, along with other humanitarian aid, is to be delivered to civilians in Gaza in exchange for delivering medication needed for Israeli captives in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office confirmed the deal and said the medicines will be forwarded by Qatari representatives in the Gaza Strip to their final destination. The drugs are intended for 45 hostages, according to the French presidency, which said 83 were initially identified as needing medication in November, but 38 have since been released or killed. After the medicines arrived at the hospital in the southern Gaza border town of Rafah on Wednesday, they will be received by the International Committee of the Red Cross, divided into batches, and immediately transferred to the hostages. And that's it on the news cycle, and it came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Don't forget, we're in Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.